Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Joan here, and today's video is going to be a special one, so stay tuned and keep watching. Wow! How old were you when you first started struggling with it? So the first time that I dealt with anxiety, depression, and even having suicidal thoughts, there's no exact age. I think that I've always felt some sort of negativity in my life, but never really focused on it or made it a serious issue, because in my household growing up, it was always an unknown subject amongst my parents. They always felt like if I brought up something that happened in school that they didn't teach me, it was like something that we should never talk about, which is not a good thing, because mental health should always have been a conversation, even as a child. And so until I was 19, and then I had to deal with it the hard way, losing someone to suicide, that was when I really went and sought professional help. And then I thought it wasn't for me. And then afterwards, took a few years later again to try and seek professional help again. And it's always a trial and error. When you look for a therapist, it's definitely not like a 1, 2, 3 situation. It definitely takes time to find the right person for you. And honestly, I'm still struggling with some of the things that I've always been encountering since I was a kid. And by no means, it's not like something that will happen overnight where you won't feel those feelings anymore. So that's pretty much it. I just know that 19 was the turning point in where I was like really acknowledging how I was feeling, and then telling everyone that was a part of my life that this is something I feel that I'm diagnosed with, which is chronic depression and anxiety, and that I do have suicidal thoughts. And I'm not trying to scare anyone, but that's the truth. That's what I'm going through, and still I'm going through. And by day, I just try to find ways in order to cope and feel better. Most of us have imposter syndrome. How and or do you deal with it? So most people, when it comes to imposter syndrome, it's the fact that you don't necessarily know who you are as a person, and that's okay, especially during your adolescent years until becoming an adult. And for me, with my experience, I honestly can't even say that I have imposter syndrome, because I've always felt like I knew what I wanted to do in life. And that's just a blessing in disguise, a lot of people say. And so for me, I somewhat don't relate, but I also understand that when I watched this movie the other day, it's called Chemical Hearts, the fact that there's this term called teenage limbo, when you really honestly don't know who you are as a person, because you're using your teenage years to figure out yourself. And so pretty much the fact that not everyone out there knows what they want to be or who they are, and that's a whole process in itself, a whole journey to understand who you are. And so the fact that you shouldn't blame yourself or get upset if things don't turn out the way how it should be. And I think that we also inherit imposter syndrome when we watch movies or we follow what we see on social media, thinking that we have to obtain these kind of personalities or identities like people we see online, when in reality, yeah, we could be similar age or we might look similar just appearance-wise, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's who we are as a person. So pretty much we need to understand that it takes time to figure out ourselves, and that even when you're an adult, you'll still take time to figure out yourself, and that by no means is not something that happens overnight. It's definitely a whole process and journey. Even till now, I'm still figuring out myself. And I think that's something that is great to even look forward to. Like, why would you want to know all the answers to life? It's even more of a puzzle or a challenge to take the time to, encounter all the different endeavors that are waiting for you in the future. And pretty much you should just accept what's going on in the present time and sit with it. Don't try to rush into trying to just figure out every little thing. And that's my take on imposter syndrome. I feel that we're not necessarily imposters unless we tell people out there that we are a certain way, but in reality we're not. that's a whole nother situation. But if we just feel like we want to, I think we definitely all go through phases. Like I could be into something one day and then the next few months I'll be into something else, and that doesn't mean I'm an imposter. I just think that I'm learning more about myself and who I am and what I like. The fact that we're going through different phases in our lives, that doesn't mean that we're an imposter. I think that in reality we're just trying to learn and grow as a person and understand what we like and dislike, and that's okay. So that's pretty much my take on the whole imposter syndrome situation topic. How to deal with unavoidable triggers. So when it comes to unavoidable triggers, honestly, my best advice is literally to walk away. But before you walk away from the situation, I say first that I count down numbers in my head so I can calm myself down from whatever it is that is like irritating or agitating my emotions. And then after I calm down, then I literally try to stick out and like deal with the situation. But if I can't, I just walk away. And you should never feel like you're some loser or someone who's not worthy just because you walk away from the situation. And as much as a person is like telling you off and just like saying mean and nasty things just so they could get under your skin, honestly, that's the most respectful thing that you could do, is just walk away from a situation. And like I promise you, in a matter of like months, years, like whatever situation that you're going through, like something like that will just like be irrelevant, and you'll just look back and be like, oh, I'm the better person by doing that, by walking away and just like being civil. I always say it's very important to be civil and respectful, because that is what people remember than you just like lashing out, and you don't want to have that like reputation or like memory like was stained about you in the future. So that's my advice when it comes to unavoidable triggers. What's something outside of your creativity that helps you cope? So what I usually do, honestly, every day I journal. And to most people, they might think that's like such a girl, female thing to do, to write in her diary. But in reality, journaling has helped me the most, especially when I just want to vent and pour out all the feelings and emotions that I have inside, because you should definitely not let it fester inside, because you're just gonna go insane. And at times, like, you want to talk to people, but then they don't want to listen. And there's like this term now that's like spreading all over the place, which is called toxic positivity, that people, you tell them your situation, your problem, and then they think that what the right thing to do is to tell you what you should do to solve the problem. But in reality, that's not what it comes down to. What needs to be done is that they just need to hear you out and listen. Because in the end of the day, we've all fallen into that situation where, for example, we know the person is wrong, and then somebody out there will tell you that that person is wrong. Like, for example, like a breakup. And then you won't learn until you deal with it yourself that that person is a bad person. But just because somebody tells you alone right off the bat and warns you that they're a bad person, that doesn't mean that it like clicks in your head like that. So that's like my whole point, that sometimes journaling is better because you don't have to deal with people. You just pretty much just write out everything, and you feel better when you're able to just express and let go whatever it is that you're feeling. And like I said, if you just hold it in too long, like inside, you just like want to go crazy. Second thing that I do is exercise. I know that's such a given to do, but honestly, whether you run outside or you like weight lift or you do just anything to move your body will definitely give a change to your demeanor and how you feel from like 5 minutes ago and feeling upset to feeling somewhat better, just because you're just exerting energy and endorphins out of your body. And then the third thing I would say is just like literally force yourself to go outside, especially if there's like sunshine and it's a nice day out. Sometimes for me, I don't like to go outside because I'm afraid of like seeing people that I know, and that's a whole nother story. But to be honest, I feel that it's very important to go outside, whether it's even for a few minutes, just because it's just good to like see different things. If you stay isolated in the same place, you'll be easily trapped in thinking about whatever it is that you're going through. And that's just going to be a whole issue in itself. You need to like see other things. Like that's why people go window shopping. It doesn't necessarily mean you need to go buy something, but the fact that you're just seeing different things makes your mind think about other stuff than what you're currently dealing with in your situation. I'm thinking of what else do I do. Another thing that I do is play instruments. I play with my guitar. By no means I'm not a professional, but definitely playing an instrument, putting my focus onto something else, whether it's an instrument or editing or doing something that has nothing to do with the current situation of the problem that I'm going through. By no means I'm not saying avoid your problem, but just doing something in the meantime so you just like can feel better or you could deal with the situation better. Then you just do what you have to do. And by no means whatever works for me will work for you, but you need to find something that will work for you in order to feel better from feeling negative. How do you want to be treated and tended to? So when it comes to the way that I personally want to be treated is honestly being respected. No one wants anyone to just like be disrespectful to them, and at the same time being honest. Honesty goes a long way, and for me, the fact that I hate when people don't tell me the truth, and whether you're wrong, I think that you should always own up to your fault and be honest about whatever it is that you did in the situation that arose. So those are two things that are very important to me. I always value honesty and being respectful. Anything other than that is like extra, but those two things go a long ways. And another last thing I just want to add is that I think it's very important to make sure that when you're in a group of people, that whoever you come with to the event, the party, the situation, I think that it's very important that you make sure everyone feels involved or they're all feeling comfortable with each other, because if they all feel out of place or you're just like the star of the whole thing and everyone else is like forgotten, that is an obvious shitty feeling. And so for me, I never want anyone to feel left out, because for me, I know how that feels like, and for me, I never want anyone to feel that way. So my biggest thing that I do whenever I'm around people is to make sure that everyone feels wanted, they feel comfortable, and they're all having fun, which is a very important thing. No one should ever feel uncomfortable or disrespected or feel like they shouldn't be somewhere or not feel safe. That's just a terrible feeling. So I always want people to feel wanted and comfortable and safe. To what degree does your art serve as expression and release from struggle versus a distraction? So for me, when it comes to using creativity as an expression, I honestly am a visual person. So I'm definitely much better visually than verbally. And so for me, whenever it comes to communicating with people and letting them know exactly what is on my mind, I honestly just make something, whether it's a film, take a photo, make a painting, write a song. I do any type of form to just be able to express whatever it is that's on my mind or how I'm feeling, because I'm just not that type of person who could like write stuff down. So when it comes to creativity being a distraction, is definitely the same idea as just using other forms just so you don't think about reality. Whether you read a book and you get lost into the story, you watch a movie, same situation, you get lost into whatever the film is showing you. I feel that when it comes to my creativity, sometimes I don't want to focus on what's going on right now. So what I currently would do is just like edit videos for a long period of time and then pretty much get lost into doing that, which is a good thing and a bad thing because it helps me focus on what I need to get done. But doing it for too long, I'm suppressing what I'm feeling, and in reality, I'm not dealing with what I have to go through, which is the feelings that I'm feeling. So I think you need to find a balance in feeling whatever it is that you're feeling, and you also need to just give yourself some time to process whatever it is that you're going through. Hypothetically speaking, if you were to be in a higher position, example, a health minister, how would you use your mental health experience to change the public's perspective and misconceptions on mental health? And at the same time, how would you help, or what kind of resources would you provide to others in order to improve their mental health? If I were to be an administrative that focuses on mental health of some sort, I would probably just do what everyone else is doing, which is pretty much word of mouth, do a conversation about just talking about mental health. The more we talk about it, the easier it will be to have a conversation, and it won't be so uncomfortable to talk about. And at the same time, we just need to just have activities and like days that are designated to mental health, even though it should be an overall year-round thing. Unfortunately, that's just not how life works or the calendar works as of right now. So we just have to designate days where we really focus on our own mental health and to just seek out other ways to reach out to others who are afraid to talk about the subject and educate them about that it's not something that should be a stigma. It should be something that we just all inherently are willing to talk about, and it should not be such an unsafe topic at times. When it comes to mental health, how I've been doing something about it is pretty much having my work revolve around the situation of talking about mental health in any shape or form. I also deal with it in my everyday life, educating and telling my friends and family about it, because obviously there's so many people out there that want to help, but they just don't know how to. And maybe that could be an excuse to a lot of us, but in reality, we can't assume and think ahead that they really don't mean well. So if they genuinely care and they just don't know how to help, we have to help them and tell them what they can do in order for us to feel comfortable about talking about mental health. So that's pretty much it. Just start a conversation, keep going with the conversation, and not be afraid to speak up when you're feeling something. So I want to conclude the video by first off saying thank you so much for watching. I know it's not a film photography video, but mental health means a lot to me. So I had to create a video, especially that this month is National Suicide Prevention Month. And at the same time, I wanted to give a shout out to my friend Quinn. I shot the photo during a Black Lives Matter protest, and he created a shirt. And I just really also want to add a side note where it's, if you ever feel alone, you are not alone. There is someone out there in the world that is willing to listen to you, but you just gotta believe it and not give up. I know it's so easy to give up and just like think about all the problems and struggles that you're going through, but in the end of the day, you have to just like remember that someone out there is willing to listen. And even if they're not willing to listen, then write that shit out or like put it out somewhere, and someone else will resonate with whatever it is that you have to say, but you're not alone. Seriously. Don't ever hesitate to reach out to someone. Don't keep that negativity inside. And that's pretty much it. Stay tuned to the next video and keep the conversation going about mental health. Okay, bye.